My mission was complete. But the alien queen wouldn't let me leave. Alex sat quietly in the dimly lit briefing room, staring at the holographic projection hovering above the table. The room was silent except for the low hum of the ship's systems. All around, other members of the research team reviewed their notes, but Alex felt a strange sense of isolation. This mission was different. It was unlike anything anyone had ever attempted. They were not going to a regular planet, studying plants or animals. They were going to a place no human had ever been, to study a life form that defied comprehension, a being the team had called the Alien Queen. Alex had trained for years for this moment, months in zero-gravity simulations, weeks in isolation chambers, hours learning to interpret strange patterns of communication. It was exhausting, both physically and mentally. But Alex had never questioned the purpose.
Humanity was curious.
Humans always had been. And this was the chance to witness life in its most extraordinary form. The briefing was short but intense. The mission was simple on paper: travel to the remote planet, make contact with the alien queen, collect data on her biology and behavior, and return. But everyone knew it would not be simple in reality. No one really knew what to expect. DA Alien Queen was rumored to be highly intelligent, possibly capable of understanding emotions and thoughts in ways humans could not. That made the mission exciting, but also dangerous. Not in a way of physical harm, but in the way the mind could be tested, stretched, and challenged. When the team boarded the sleek spacecraft that would take them across the galaxy, Alex felt a mix of excitement and fear. The ship was small, designed for speed and agility with minimal crew. Alex's cabin was tight but comfortable, with only the essential supplies for survival. There was no room for distractions. This was not a vacation. This was work at the edge of human understanding. As the engines roared to life, Alex took a deep breath, staring out the small window at the blue and white planet fading into the distance. Earth would soon be just a memory. The journey was long. Days passed in a blur of monitoring systems, reviewing mission protocols, and running simulations. Alex often found themselves staring into the blackness of space, imagining what awaited on the other side. Every star felt like a tiny possibility, every shadow a secret waiting to be discovered. The silence of space was comforting, but also unnerving. Without the hum of daily life on Earth, every thought became louder, every fear sharper. Finally, the spacecraft approached the planet. From orbit, it looked beautiful and strange. The surface was a swirl of colors unlike any Earth landscape, with vast forests that glowed faintly under the alien sun. Rivers ran like liquid glass reflecting the unusual sky. Mountains rose sharply, their peaks disappearing into clouds that shimmered with an odd light. Alex could feel a thrill of awe. This was what they had trained for, studied for, dreamed of. The planet was alive, vibrant, and utterly unfamiliar. Landing was tricky. The surface was uneven, with strange magnetic fields that affected the ship's instruments. Alex handled the controls with careful precision, sweat beading on their forehead. One wrong move could mean disaster. But the training paid off. The spacecraft touched down gently in a clearing near a massive structure that seemed organic. It wasn't made of stone or metal, yet it was enormous and regal. It pulsed faintly, almost as if it were breathing. Alex's heart raced. This was the home of the Alien Queen. Stepping out onto the alien soil was surreal. The air was breathable, but it carried a scent unlike anything on Earth, a mix of flowers, ozone, and something indescribably sweet. The ground was soft, almost alive underfoot. Strange plants curved toward Alex as if observing the newcomer. It was beautiful, but also intimidating. Every instinct screamed caution. Every story of explorers lost to wonder came rushing to mind. Alex began the process of scanning the environment, recording everything: temperature, air composition, gravitational anomalies, and the subtle energy pulses that seemed to emanate from the massive structure ahead. Then, in the center of the structure, they saw her, the alien queen. She was larger than Alex had expected, her form elegant and flowing, almost humanoid in shape, but undeniably alien. Her skin shimmered like liquid crystal, reflecting the soft light in waves of color. Her eyes were enormous, luminous, and intelligent. They seemed to look directly into Alex's mind, as if searching for thoughts and feelings hidden beneath the surface. Alex froze, unsure whether to approach or retreat, but the protocols were clear. Approach slowly, make no sudden movements, and establish communication using the devices provided. For hours, Alex moved cautiously closer, speaking softly into the translator device. The alien queen did not respond immediately. Instead, she watched, tilting her massive head, as if weighing the intentions of this tiny, strange creature who had dared to enter her domain. Alex could feel a strange energy radiating from her, a presence so strong it pressed against the mind. It was intimidating, yes, but also mesmerizing. Gradually, the alien queen began to respond, not in words, but in a series of gestures and movements that the device translated into data. It was clear she was aware of Alex, aware of their purpose. And more than that, she was curious. Alex felt a thrill run through them. This was contact. True contact. It was everything they had trained for. Everything they had dreamed of. The first day was exhausting. Alex collected samples, recorded behaviors, and tried to understand the queen's patterns. She moved gracefully, her presence commanding yet gentle. Alex began to sense that she was intelligent in ways beyond calculation. She seemed to understand not just actions, but intentions. It was unnerving. The line between subject and observer felt blurred. The more Alex watched, the more they felt observed in return. By the second day, a rhythm developed. Alex moved carefully, always aware of the queen's gaze. She seemed to acknowledge their presence, even allowing brief physical proximity. Alex could almost feel a connection, a strange understanding that went beyond words. There was no danger, at least not physical, but there was a tension in knowing that every action was being noted, every move considered. The queen was not cruel, she was cautious, intelligent, and entirely in control of her environment. As the days passed, Alex recorded more data and began to feel a mix of awe and unease. The queen was not just a subject of study, she was a being capable of emotion, of thought, of influence. Alex had anticipated intelligence, but not this level of awareness. Each observation brought more questions. Could she understand loyalty, fear, or empathy? Could she recognize the limits of human understanding? These thoughts occupied Alex constantly, making sleep restless and dreams vivid. Despite the intensity, Alex remained focused on the mission. Every sample collected, every observation recorded, was a step closer to completing the assignment. There was pride in that, yes, but also a creeping doubt. The queen's presence was overwhelming, her awareness pressing in ways Alex had never experienced.
It was one thing to study life.
It was another to face intelligence that seemed to peer directly into your mind. By the fifth day, Alex felt a strange sense of camaraderie with the queen. Not friendship, not love. Those words felt inadequate, but something like recognition. She seemed to acknowledge their effort, their intent. Alex could sense her curiosity, her intelligence, and a kind of silent approval. It was unlike anything Alex had ever encountered. Finally, after days of observation and careful interaction, Alex knew the mission was near completion. The samples were secured, the data collected, and the behaviors recorded. Everything had gone as planned. On paper, it was a perfect success. Alex allowed a small smile, feeling a sense of relief and pride. The hardest part seemed to be over. The mission was complete. But as Alex turned to leave the Queen's domain, a strange feeling stopped them. She remained where she had always been, but her gaze followed, unwavering and intense. There was a presence in that look that spoke louder than words. Alex felt it in their chest, a weight that had nothing to do with physical force. The Queen did not speak, yet the message was clear. Leaving would not be simple. Alex froze, realizing that the mission's completion was not the end.
There was something about this being, this presence, that made departure impossible without consideration.
It was a strange, almost thrilling thought, like standing on the edge of understanding something far beyond oneself. Alex knew instinctively that the days ahead would be even more challenging, not because of danger, but because of what it meant to truly confront intelligence unlike any other. As the sun, or what passed for a sun on this planet, set over the alien landscape, Alex looked back at the Queen, feeling a mixture of respect, awe, and apprehension.
The mission was complete, yes, but something deeper had begun.
Something that would challenge every assumption, every plan, and perhaps every belief about the nature of life itself. And in that moment, Alex realized that leaving might not be as simple as returning home. Alex spent the next morning in a restless state. The mission data was nearly complete, yet leaving the planet felt impossible. Each time Alex approached the spacecraft, a strange sensation slowed their steps. It wasn't fear exactly, but an unshakable awareness, a pressure from the alien Queen that seemed to reach beyond the physical. She had not moved from her position near the organic structure, yet her presence was undeniable. Alex could feel it, a silent insistence that lingered in the air. The first attempt to leave was gentle. Alex carried the collected samples and adjusted the spacecraft controls, ready for the short journey back to orbit. The engines hummed to life, filling the cabin with vibration. But as soon as Alex looked back at the Queen, a subtle pulse of energy reverberated through the ground, through the air, and even through the ship's hull. The instruments flickered. Some unseen force, blocked the departure. Alex's heart raced. No storm, no mechanical failure had caused this. It was the Queen. Somehow, she had made her presence impossible to ignore.
Alex tried to reason with the situation.
The protocols allowed for environmental anomalies, but nothing in training had prepared for this. The Queen was intelligent, aware, and apparently willing to prevent departure if she chose. Alex could feel her observation not just on the body, but on the mind. Every thought, every doubt, every fleeting wish seemed transparent under her gaze. Alex realized with a shiver that this was more than curiosity. It was interaction at a level beyond understanding. For hours, Alex moved carefully around the clearing, attempting communication. Simple gestures, soft sounds, the translator device, all attempts to indicate peaceful intentions. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the Queen responded. She shifted her massive form slightly, a gentle wave of color shimmering along her crystalline surface. It was a response, yes, but not a surrender. Alex realized that she was testing patience, observation, and understanding. Leaving prematurely was not permitted. The next few days were exhausting. Alex continued documenting the planet's ecosystem, while simultaneously attempting to understand the Queen's behavior. Each observation revealed intelligence, depth, and an almost deliberate playfulness. Sometimes she would move just as Alex approached a sample, seeming to guide or redirect the attention. Other times, she would remain perfectly still, watching silently, as if weighing the human's decisions. It was a strange mix of guidance and caution. Alex began to notice that the Queen's reactions were not random. Certain actions caused subtle shifts in her form, like a pulse or glow that carried meaning. Alex spent hours attempting to decode these signals, scribbling notes and recording patterns. It became clear that she was responding not just to physical movement but to intent, emotion, and thought. Alex felt both exhilarated and overwhelmed. This was far beyond any standard scientific observation. It was like entering a dialogue without words, a test of understanding and empathy. Sleep was difficult. Each night, Alex lay in the small cabin, replaying the day's encounters. The Queen's presence lingered in memory, more vivid than any dream. Alex found themselves thinking in abstract ways, attempting to anticipate her reactions before even approaching. It was mentally exhausting. At times, Alex questioned whether they were truly observing the Queen or whether the Queen was observing them instead, studying their understanding, patience, and motives. A turning point came on the third day of this standoff. Alex had collected rare samples from a glowing plant near the Queen's structure. As they carefully carried the samples back to the spacecraft, the ground trembled slightly. The Queen's form shifted, her colors deepening into shades Alex had never seen before. Alex stopped in awe, unsure what this change meant. Then a gentle vibration pulsed through the ground, almost like a heartbeat. Alex realized she was communicating directly, not through gestures or devices, but through energy and presence. It was a profound moment. Alex tried to respond as best as possible. Standing still, letting the samples rest gently, they focused on calm, neutral emotions. To the human mind, it felt like meditation, a careful practice of patience and openness. After several long minutes, the vibration subsided slightly, allowing Alex to move closer to the spacecraft. It was not freedom, but it was a momentary compromise. The Queen was asserting her authority while allowing cautious progress. Over the next 2 days, Alex learned more about her intelligence and awareness. She could anticipate movements, redirect attention, and even influence environmental elements subtly. Plants would bend toward or away from Alex. Lights would shimmer in specific patterns. Alex realized that the Queen's world was more connected than expected, a network of responses that could communicate complex meaning without words. Alex began to understand the responsibility of presence here. Every action mattered. Every intention was noticed. Despite the beauty and wonder, the tension was growing. Alex wanted to leave, to complete the mission, to return with the collected data and report the findings. Yet each time they approached the ship, the Queen's presence reminded them that departure was not allowed yet.
It was frustrating, but Alex also felt a strange admiration.
She was not cruel or aggressive. She was aware, intelligent, and cautious.
Alex began to appreciate that this was not obstruction but protection.
She wanted understanding, not just observation. Alex also began to feel the emotional weight of this interaction. It was not attachment in a personal sense, but a profound awareness of the connection between two forms of intelligence. Alex realized that leaving hastily might mean misunderstanding, misrepresentation, or even harm. The Queen had a way of communicating subtle consequences, teaching patience, and testing ethical responsibility. Alex had never encountered a situation that required such depth of thought and emotional intelligence. By the 5th day, the standoff had developed into a rhythm. Alex would explore, collect samples, and return to the Queen, studying her responses as much as the environment. Each day brought new understanding. Alex realized that the mission was no longer just about data. It was about learning how to coexist with intelligence utterly unlike humanity's, how to respect and interpret awareness that operated on a level beyond simple observation. The Queen was teaching lessons about patience, understanding, and the limits of human perspective. The nights were the hardest. Alone in the small cabin, Alex reflected on the day's interactions. There was a mixture of pride, exhaustion, and subtle fear. Pride for the success in communication, exhaustion from the mental and emotional demands, and fear from the realization that the Queen could perceive every thought, every hesitation. Sleep came in short bursts, dreams filled with glowing landscapes, rhythmic pulses, and shifting colors. Even in rest, Alex could not escape the impression that the Queen's awareness lingered. The turning point came unexpectedly. Alex had set up a temporary observation post near a crystalline formation close to the Queen. As they worked, documenting behaviors and taking notes, the Queen moved closer than ever before. Her presence was immense, overwhelming even at a distance. Then, something remarkable happened. Alex felt a direct connection, a sense of recognition, almost as if she acknowledged the effort, the respect, and the patience. Alex realized that she was not preventing departure out of malice or dominance. She was ensuring understanding, teaching that the mission's true purpose was not just data, but comprehension and respect.
Alex's perspective shifted.
What had felt like obstruction was now seen as guidance. Leaving prematurely might have meant missing crucial lessons about intelligence, empathy, and interconnection. Alex understood that the mission had changed. It was no longer simply about returning with samples. It was about learning how to observe, interact, and respect a life form of profound awareness. This understanding brought a mix of relief and renewed tension. The goal was still to leave eventually, but now it was clear that the departure could only occur with acknowledgement of what had been learned. That evening, Alex returned to the spacecraft to check the systems and secure the samples. As the engines hummed quietly, there was still a faint vibration, a reminder of the Queen's presence. Alex looked out of the cabin window at her massive form, glowing softly under the alien sun. It was clear that leaving would require more than physical readiness. It would require emotional preparation, understanding, and perhaps even negotiation. The Queen was patient, but Alex knew she would not allow impulsive departure.
Alex realized that the coming days would be as mentally demanding as the initial exploration.
The mission was complete in terms of data collection, yet the true challenge lay ahead. How to leave while honoring the lessons, the connection, and the intelligence of the Queen. Alex understood now that this encounter was unique, unlike any previous mission in human history. It was not simply a task. It was an experience that tested the mind, the heart, and the very limits of human understanding. As night fell, the planet's landscape glowed softly with bioluminescent colors. Alex sat near the observation post, watching the Queen, feeling a strange mixture of awe, respect, and anticipation. The days ahead promised tension, discovery, and profound lessons. The mission was complete in its initial goal, but the real work, the understanding, the interaction, and the ethical responsibility was just beginning. For the first time, Alex felt the weight of being not just an observer, but a participant in an encounter with intelligence utterly alien. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet thought persisted. Leaving this planet would not be as simple as it seemed. The Queen had made that clear without a word, and Alex knew that every step forward would require patience, respect, and courage. Alex had thought the hardest part of the mission was already behind them. They had collected the data, documented every behavior, and secured the samples. Yet, standing on the alien soil once again, Alex realized that leaving would be far more complicated than expected. The alien Queen remained where she had always been, her massive form glowing softly, pulsating in ways that felt almost alive. Her gaze seemed sharper now, more focused, as if she had been waiting for this very moment. For hours, Alex tried different strategies. First, they attempted a direct approach, carrying the samples, moving slowly toward the spacecraft, Alex tried to signal that departure was imminent. The ship's engines hummed, ready for liftoff. But as soon as Alex looked at the Queen, a subtle, invisible force seemed to push against the feet, the body, and even the mind. The vibration of the ground intensified slightly, and instruments on the spacecraft flickered. It was clear she was aware of every movement, every intention, and she would not allow departure yet. Alex paused, taking a deep breath. Frustration surged briefly, but was quickly replaced by a quiet determination. The Queen was not aggressive or hostile. She was intelligent, cautious, and deliberate. This was not a confrontation of force. It was a confrontation of understanding.
Alex realized that leaving would require more than action. It would require thought, patience, and a demonstration of comprehension.
Over the next day, Alex attempted to communicate more deliberately. Standing several meters from the Queen, they focused not just on gestures or devices, but on calm intent. Alex tried to convey peace, respect, and curiosity simultaneously. The Queen responded subtly, moving her massive form in gentle arcs, her colors shifting through shades that Alex had learned to interpret as meaning curiosity or caution. This was no longer a simple observation mission. It had become a test, a dialogue conducted without words.
By the second day, Alex began to sense patterns in the Queen's behavior.
She was intelligent, yes, but also patient. She responded to observation with observation, to care with care, to respect with respect. Every action Alex took was noted. Every thought projected through emotion seemed to reach her awareness. Alex understood that she was testing ethical awareness, empathy, and the capacity to act responsibly. The mission was no longer about the samples. It was about interaction, about proving readiness to engage with intelligence that far exceeded normal human understanding. Alex struggled with a growing tension. The spacecraft remained ready, the samples carefully secured. Yet departure was impossible without acknowledgement from the Queen. She had made this abundantly clear. At times, Alex would sit on the soft alien ground, watching her glow and pulse in the twilight, trying to anticipate what action would earn permission to leave. But the answer was never simple. The Queen's intelligence was fluid, subtle, and profound. Patience and genuine understanding were the only tools Alex could rely on. It was during one of these quiet moments that Alex noticed something remarkable.
The Queen, who had always been enormous and imposing, began to shift her form in ways that seemed almost playful.
A gentle wave of light pulsed toward Alex as they moved closer to collect a sample. At first, Alex hesitated, unsure if approaching would provoke the wrong response. Then, slowly, carefully, they mirrored the Queen's motion, acknowledging her guidance and showing attentiveness. The response was immediate. Her colors brightened in a way that Alex had learned signaled approval. Alex felt a surge of hope. Perhaps this was the breakthrough. Perhaps the Queen could understand intentions, patience, and respect in ways that allowed cooperation. Over the next hours, Alex worked meticulously, collecting samples while maintaining a careful awareness of her reactions. Every step was deliberate, every movement measured. The Queen seemed to observe continuously, her immense awareness weighing every action, assessing every choice. It was exhausting mentally and emotionally, but Alex was determined to succeed. By the third day, Alex realized that the mission's purpose had expanded. The original goal had been data collection, observation, and recording behavior, but the true purpose, it seemed, was understanding the Queen herself, not merely as a subject, but as an intelligent being, capable of interaction, influence, and guidance. Alex began to feel a growing respect, even admiration, for the Queen's awareness. Leaving prematurely would have been a mistake. The lesson was clear. Intelligence demanded recognition, patience, and empathy. This realization brought clarity, but also anxiety. How would departure ever be allowed if the Queen demanded such understanding? Alex knew that compliance with human mission goals was only part of the challenge. The larger challenge was moral, emotional, and mental, demonstrating that humanity could respect and learn without causing harm. Alex felt a strange mixture of pressure and determination. Success required more than skill. It required comprehension. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. Alex had set up an observation station near a crystalline formation that pulsed softly in the alien light. As they documented the environment and the Queen's behavior, she moved closer than ever before. Alex could feel her presence directly, a subtle pressure in the mind, not invasive, but insistent. Then, with a pulse of energy that seemed almost deliberate, she acknowledged the effort Alex had made in patience, observation, and careful action. It was a moment of recognition, almost like a silent agreement. Alex realized the truth. The Queen was not preventing departure to assert control. She was ensuring understanding. She wanted Alex to comprehend the depth, the complexity, and the intelligence of her world. The samples and data were secondary. The real mission was the interaction itself. It was an education in awareness, patience, and ethical responsibility. Alex felt both relief and renewed tension. Departure was still not allowed, but a path forward had been illuminated. The next few hours were a delicate dance. Alex moved carefully, allowing the Queen to guide interaction, mirroring her shifts and responding to subtle pulses of light and energy. The connection grew stronger, though still indirect. Alex understood that the Queen's awareness could read not just actions, but intention, emotion, and patience. It was exhausting to maintain such focused presence, but Alex persevered. Each careful movement, each moment of understanding brought them closer to eventual departure. By the 5th day of this standoff, Alex had developed a rhythm with the Queen. Observing, responding, and learning, they discovered a mutual understanding that transcended simple communication. Alex realized that leaving the planet was no longer just a matter of boarding the spacecraft. It was a matter of demonstrating respect, comprehension, and readiness.
The Queen's insistence on this interaction was not a barrier but a bridge, guiding Alex to a new level of awareness.
The nights were spent reflecting. Alex lay in the cabin reviewing recordings and notes, attempting to interpret subtle changes in the Queen's form. The connection lingered in memory, even in sleep. Dreams were vivid, filled with glowing landscapes, rhythmic pulses, and shifting lights. Each morning brought renewed focus and effort. The Queen's presence was always there, a constant reminder that this mission was about more than data. It was about understanding life in its most extraordinary form. Finally, Alex began to sense a shift. The Queen's responses, once cautious and deliberate, grew slightly more relaxed. The subtle pulses of energy that had resisted departure now seemed to acknowledge effort, patience, and understanding.
Alex realized that she was testing, yes, but also guiding. The mission's success depended not on what was collected, but on what was learned.
Alex felt a profound mix of relief, awe, and anticipation. By the 6th day, the connection had grown strong. Alex approached the Queen, carrying the remaining samples, and paused. The pulsing light shifted in response, and Alex felt a wave of calm understanding. The Queen's presence was intense, yet welcoming. She was no longer a test to be passed, but a partner in communication, an intelligence capable of teaching lessons beyond words. Alex knew that the final attempt to leave would require more than physical readiness. It would require full acknowledgement of the lessons learned, respect for her intelligence, and patience for the complexity of her awareness. As the alien sun dipped below the horizon, painting the landscape in surreal colors, Alex looked back at the Queen. Her glow shifted gently, rhythmic and steady, almost like a heartbeat. The mission was no longer just about samples or data. It was about understanding, empathy, and recognition of intelligence unlike any other. Alex felt a quiet determination. Departure would come, but only on the terms of mutual comprehension. The Queen had made that clear without words, and Alex knew that every step forward required patience, respect, and courage. Alex prepared for what they understood to be the final day of interaction before attempting departure. The spacecraft was ready, the samples secured, and the observation notes complete. Yet the true test remained. Could Alex demonstrate full understanding and respect for the alien queen's intelligence, earning permission to leave without diminishing the lessons of the encounter? The tension was high, the stakes immense, and the challenge unlike anything Alex had ever faced. The moment hung in the air, charged with anticipation. Alex could feel the Queen's gaze, her awareness, and the silent expectation. It was not confrontation but engagement, a dialogue without words. Success depended on thought, patience, and empathy.
Alex drew a deep breath, focusing on calm presence, careful action, and silent acknowledgement of the Queen's guidance.
The next hours would determine the outcome of the mission. Not the data collected, but the depth of understanding achieved. The final day had arrived, and Alex felt a mixture of anticipation, relief, and lingering tension. The mission, in terms of data collection and sample gathering, was complete. Yet the challenge of leaving the planet still remained. Alex had spent nearly a week understanding the alien queen, learning her patterns, and navigating the silent dialogue that had formed between them. The weight of this understanding pressed on Alex now, heavier than any physical load carried through the alien landscape. The sun, or whatever passed for it here, was low on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold. The air carried the faint hum of the planet's life, a rhythm Alex had begun to recognize over the past days. It was subtle but persistent, like a heartbeat that could be felt in the ground beneath their feet. The Queen was waiting, as she always had, near her massive structure, her form glowing softly, pulsing with energy that Alex had learned to interpret. There was a sense of anticipation, almost as if she knew that this day would determine the next chapter of the mission. Alex moved carefully toward her, carrying the remaining samples and observation notes. Every step was deliberate, measured, and mindful of her reactions. Over the past week, Alex had learned to mirror her movements, to maintain calm, and to project respect and patience. The connection between them had grown into something profound. Though not friendship in the human sense, it was a recognition, a mutual acknowledgement of intelligence, awareness, and intention. The Queen shifted slightly as Alex approached, her colors deepened in a rich array of hues, signaling what Alex had come to interpret as curiosity and caution. For a moment, Alex simply stopped and observed, letting the silence fill the space between them. There was no fear here, no threat, only awareness, profound and undeniable. Alex felt the weight of her observation, a pressure that was not physical but mental, as if she could perceive every thought, every hesitation, and every unspoken intention. After a long moment, Alex set the samples down carefully on the soft ground. They raised a hand slowly in the gesture they had developed over the past days, a combination of acknowledgement, respect, and openness. The Queen responded almost immediately, a pulse of energy radiating outward in a pattern Alex had learned to interpret as recognition. It was subtle, yet unmistakable. Alex felt a thrill of relief and pride. Perhaps this was the moment that would finally allow departure. The hours that followed were a delicate negotiation.
End of 4AT at present.is.ca.
Alex moved, observed, and responded to the Queen's subtle shifts and pulses. Every movement mattered. Every thought projected through calm intention seemed to be noticed. Alex had learned patience, the importance of mindfulness, and the need to consider the perspective of a being entirely alien to humanity. It was exhausting, but also exhilarating. The Queen was teaching lessons far beyond the scope of any human training, lessons in empathy, understanding, and responsibility. By midday, Alex sensed a turning point. The Queen's reactions, once cautious and deliberate, now carried a softer tone. Her pulses became rhythmic, steady, and consistent.
A signal Alex interpreted as acknowledgement of effort and understanding.
The subtle pressure that had prevented earlier attempts at departure eased slightly, allowing Alex to move closer to the spacecraft. For the first time in days, it seemed that the final challenge was within reach. Still, Alex knew that leaving would not be simple. The Queen's intelligence was immense, and her presence commanded respect. This was not a race or a competition. It was a lesson, a test, and an opportunity to demonstrate comprehension. Alex realized that the true success of the mission was no longer measured by samples or data, but by understanding and ethical engagement. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on Alex's mind, yet it was also empowering. They were participating in something unique, something that would shape human understanding for years to come. Alex carefully entered the spacecraft, securing the samples and ensuring all systems were ready. The engines hummed quietly, awaiting command. But before initiating takeoff, Alex paused and looked out the small viewport at the Queen. She remained near her structure, glowing softly, her form undulating with energy. For a long moment, Alex simply observed, feeling a profound sense of connection and recognition. The silent dialogue between them had reached its peak. The Queen had acknowledged patience, understanding, and respect. Taking a deep breath, Alex initiated the engines. The spacecraft lifted slowly from the alien soil, and for the first time, the subtle pressure that had prevented earlier departures felt less restrictive. The Queen did not move, yet her presence was undeniable. Alex felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. This encounter, this profound interaction was ending, but its impact would remain. The mission was technically complete, yet emotionally and intellectually it had transformed Alex in ways that would endure. As the spacecraft ascended, Alex continued to observe the Queen. Her form shrank slowly in the distance, but the memory of her intelligence, her awareness, and the lessons she had imparted remained vivid. Alex reflected on the past days, the tension, the learning, the careful negotiation, and the deep understanding that had formed without a single spoken word. It was a reminder that intelligence and awareness could take forms entirely unlike humanity's, yet still demand recognition and respect. Once in orbit, Alex secured all data and began transmission back to Earth. The samples, carefully preserved, represented only a fraction of the mission's true value. The greater achievement was the understanding, the demonstration of ethical engagement, and the recognition that leaving a world like this required more than physical departure. It required comprehension, patience, and respect.
The journey back was quieter than the trip to the planet.
Alex spent hours reviewing logs, documenting interactions, and reflecting on the profound lessons learned. Sleep came more easily now, though dreams were still vivid, filled with glowing landscapes, shifting lights, and the rhythmic pulses of the Queen's presence. Alex felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The mission had been challenging beyond expectation, yet it had succeeded in ways that no one could have predicted. When Earth finally came into view, Alex felt a mixture of relief and a strange longing. Returning home was familiar, comforting, and yet alien after the intensity of the past week. Dale. The Queen's presence lingered in memory, a reminder of the complexity of life and intelligence beyond human understanding. Alex knew that the data and samples would be analyzed, studied, and discussed for months, even years, but the personal impact of the mission, the lessons, the awareness, and the silent connection with the Queen was immeasurable.
After landing, Alex stepped out into the bright sunlight of Earth with a new perspective.
The mission was complete, and the samples and data were secured, but something deeper had been accomplished. Alex had learned to communicate without words, to recognize intelligence beyond human perception, and to respect life in its most extraordinary forms. It was a transformation that would shape every future mission, every interaction with the unknown, and every understanding of life itself. In the weeks that followed, Alex shared the findings with the research team and higher authorities. The reports were technical, filled with data, charts, and observations, but they could not fully convey the depth of understanding that had formed. Many colleagues were impressed with the samples and measurements, yet only Alex truly knew the significance of the silent dialogue, the lessons in patience, and the awareness of intelligence unlike anything humanity had encountered. Despite the acclaim, Alex found moments of quiet reflection. In solitude, they would think back to the glowing landscapes, the rhythmic pulses, and the presence of the Queen.
The memory was vivid, profound, and unforgettable.
Alex realized that some encounters could not be summarized in reports or lectures. Some lessons were carried in the mind and heart forever, shaping perspective, thought, and behavior long after the mission ended. One evening, staring at the stars from the research facility's observation deck, Alex thought of the Queen. There had been no words exchanged, yet the connection remained. It was a reminder that intelligence and awareness could exist in forms completely unlike humanity's, and that understanding required humility, patience, and respect. Alex smiled faintly, recognizing that this mission had been more than a success. It had been a profound education. In the months that followed, Alex continued to study the data and refine observations. Each new insight reminded them of the lessons learned directly from the Queen. Patience, awareness, ethical responsibility, and the acknowledgement of intelligence beyond human comprehension became central to Alex's thinking and approach to research. The mission had been completed, but its lessons would continue indefinitely. Though the alien Queen remained on her distant planet, far from human reach, her presence lingered in Alex's mind. The memory of her intelligence, her awareness, and the careful negotiation for understanding was a guiding force. Alex knew that the mission had not ended simply with departure. It had ended with transformation. Humanity had learned, through Alex's experience, that true understanding required more than observation. It required connection, empathy, and recognition. The final lesson of the mission was clear. Some encounters could not simply be finished. They had to be understood, respected, and carried forward. The alien Queen had not allowed Alex to leave easily, but she had imparted something far greater than any sample or measurement. She had taught that intelligence, patience, and respect were the true measures of success, and Alex knew that this lesson would remain, shaping every choice, every observation, and every encounter with the unknown in the future.